The sun hung lazily over Los Angeles that afternoon, casting long golden rays across Demi Moore's kitchen. She stood by the window, her hands wrapped around a cup of chamomile tea, staring absent-mindedly at the sprawling garden. It was supposed to be a peaceful day, a moment of stillness in the whirlwind of her life, but everything shifted the instant her phone buzzed. The screen flashed a name that always made her heart flutter in a way she couldn't quite define. Bruce, her ex-husband, her friend, her family. Her fingers trembled slightly as she accepted the call. "Hey, Bruce," she greeted, trying to sound casual. But something in the silence that followed tightened her chest. His voice wasn't the usual warm, teasing tone that once filled their home. It was different, measured, strained. "Hey, Demi, I hope I'm not bothering you," Bruce finally said, his words heavier than she had ever heard. Her pulse quickened. She knew Bruce. She knew every version of him, the charming prankster, the devoted father, the reliable friend. But this tone, this wasn't him, or maybe it was a version of him she hadn't yet met. If you love emotional stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more touching narratives that reveal the truth behind Hollywood's most private moments. As his voice lingered in her ears, memories surged like a flood. It all started more than 3 decades ago, when their paths crossed at a film premiere in the late 80s. Bruce, with his mischievous smile and undeniable magnetism, had walked up to her, confident and disarming. Demi, fresh off a breakup, hadn't expected to be captivated, but within minutes they were laughing like old friends. Their romance was as electric as it was sincere. They married in 1987, under the blinding lights of Hollywood, but with hearts that craved something real. Together they created not just careers that soared, but also a sanctuary away from the spotlight. A home filled with laughter, late-night kitchen dances, and bedtime stories whispered to 3 little girls who became their universe: Rumer, Scout, and Tallulah. Theirs was a love that the world watched closely, sometimes too closely. Fame tested them. The relentless schedules, the constant scrutiny, the demands of being not just actors but icons. By the late 90s, cracks began to show, not in their love, but in the way the world expected them to exist together. In 2000, they officially divorced. But unlike most Hollywood splits, theirs defied expectations. They remained best friends, co-parents, and pillars in each other's lives. There were vacations together, birthday parties, and red carpets shared, not as a couple, but as family. When Bruce remarried in 2009, Demi was there. When Demi needed support during her most vulnerable moments, Bruce was there. Yet lately, something had shifted. It was subtle at first. A missed birthday call, not entirely unusual but strange for Bruce, who prided himself on never forgetting family milestones. Then came the cancelled visits, the brief, sometimes awkward phone calls where his once effortless wit seemed labored. At their daughter Rumer's recent celebration, Demi had caught Bruce staring quietly out the window while everyone else laughed, a distant look in his eyes. She'd asked herself 100 times, was he just tired? Was it stress? Age? Bruce had always been vibrant, larger than life, even in quieter moments. But now the silences seemed heavier, almost suffocating. The voice on the phone brought her back. "Demi, there's something I need to tell you." Her grip tightened around the cup. Her breath caught. A swirl of dread and protectiveness rose in her chest. "Bruce, what is it?" Her voice softened, steady despite the storm inside. On the other end, Bruce hesitated. That hesitation told her everything, and yet nothing at all. What she didn't know was that this phone call was about to change everything they thought they knew about each other, about family, and about how even the strongest bonds are tested when life delivers its cruelest surprises. The days following that phone call were filled with an unsettling quiet. Though Bruce hadn't yet revealed what weighed so heavily on him, Demi couldn't shake the sense of urgency that clung to her. She found herself replaying their conversation, searching for clues hidden in his pauses, in the strained undertones of his voice. Bruce had always been a man of action. If something was wrong, he faced it head on. But this was different. It was as if he was retreating behind invisible walls, and the more Demi tried to reach him, the further he drifted. At first, she rationalized it. Maybe he was just busy. Maybe it was stress. After all, life hadn't slowed down for either of them. Bruce had always been incredibly private about his struggles. She remembered the countless times during their marriage when he'd bottle up his fears just to protect her and the kids, but the signs became harder to ignore. There were forgotten conversations, simple details, dates, places, names that Bruce never used to miss suddenly slipped through the cracks. When they spoke, there were long silences, not the comfortable kind they'd shared over the years, but ones that felt heavy, confused, uncertain. Demi noticed that even his once sharp sense of humor started to dull. The Bruce who could light up a room with a perfectly timed joke now struggled to finish his sentences sometimes. He often seemed lost in thought, staring into nothing as if trying to grasp something just out of reach. She wasn't the only one who noticed. Rumer called one evening, her voice tinged with concern. "Mum, have you noticed anything different about Dad?" Rumer asked hesitantly. He's not himself. He seemed confused when we talked. He called me Scout twice before realizing. It scared me. Demi's stomach twisted. Her maternal instincts kicked in immediately, not just for her children, but for Bruce too. Then came the moment that shook her. Scout, always the most observant of their daughters, shared a brief conversation she'd had with Bruce a few weeks earlier. "He asked me where the keys to his house were," Scout said, voice trembling. "Mom, Dad hasn't lived in that house for 10 years. It hit Demi like a wave. Something was deeply wrong. Her nights became restless. She pored over old messages, scrolled through photos, and recalled the tiniest moments they'd shared recently, searching for patterns, for answers. Had there been earlier signs she'd missed? How long had he been carrying this burden alone? A part of her wanted to rush over to his home, grab his hands and demand the truth. But another part, the part that had loved him for decades, understood that Bruce was proud to his core, and pushing him might only make him retreat further. Demi's friends noticed the toll it was taking on her. At a dinner with her longtime confidant, actress Laura Dern, Demi finally voiced her fear out loud for the first time. I think Bruce is sick," she whispered, eyes brimming with unshed tears. "And he's hiding it." Laura reached across the table, squeezing Demi's hand. "Then you have to show him you're not afraid. Whatever it is, you've walked through fire together before. You'll walk through this too." The words resonated. Demi knew she couldn't wait any longer. Whether Bruce was ready or not, it was time to confront the growing shadow between them. Taking a deep breath, she typed out a simple message. "Bruce, I love you. Not as a wife anymore, but as family. I need to know what's happening. Whatever it is, you won't face it alone." Her thumb hovered over the send button, trembling. Then, with a decisive tap, the message was gone, like tossing a bottle into a stormy sea, praying it would reach the shore. What she didn't yet know was that the truth was heavier than anything she had imagined. The reply came the next morning, simple, direct. "Can you come over? I need to talk to you." Demi's heart pounded as she drove through the winding streets toward Bruce's home. The familiar route felt different this time. He had always been her safe place, even after the marriage ended. But today, there was an ache in her chest she couldn't suppress. When she arrived, the front door was slightly ajar, as if waiting for her. Bruce stood in the doorway, his frame still strong, but his posture different, more fragile. His eyes, once filled with mischievous light, looked clouded, tired. "Hey," he said, offering a small smile that barely masked the tremor in his voice. "Hey," Demi replied softly, stepping inside. The house was quiet, save for the ticking of a clock. Familiar photos lined the walls, weddings, vacations, candid shots of the kids growing up, a gallery of a life shared. They sat down in the living room, silence stretching between them like a taut wire. Bruce took a deep breath, then released it slowly. "I didn't know how to tell you this," he began, voice cracking. "I've been struggling. More than anyone knows." Demi reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "I know," she whispered. "I felt it." His eyes welled. I've been diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia." The words hung there, heavy, suffocating. It's why I've been forgetting things, why I've been distant." His voice broke. "It started a while ago. Little things. A word I couldn't remember. A place I couldn't recall, but it's getting worse, and it's not going to get better." Demi's breath caught. Her body stiffened as her mind fought to process what she was hearing. This man, this vibrant, unstoppable force in her life, was fighting a battle that words could barely describe. "I didn't want to tell you," Bruce continued, wiping a tear from his cheek. "I didn't want you, or the girls, to see me like this, to remember me, this way." "Bruce," Demi's voice trembled, "you don't have to hide from me. From us. You will always be the man we love." "I was afraid," he admitted, lowering his head. "Afraid that you'd pity me. Afraid that I'd become a burden, that I wouldn't be me anymore." Demi knelt in front of him, her hands cupping his face. "Listen to me," she said, voice firm but tender. "You are never a burden, never. You are Bruce. You are the father of our children, my friend, my family. Nothing takes that away. Not this. Not anything." Tears streamed down both their faces as the weight of the revelation settled between them. Years of shared laughter, pain, love and growth fused into this moment of raw, unfiltered vulnerability. Bruce exhaled, his shoulders sagging as if releasing a weight he'd carried alone for far too long. "I didn't want my silence to hurt you, but I realize it has." Demi nodded, wiping a tear from his cheek. "It hurt, but only because we care. You've always been there for me, for the girls. Now it's our turn to be there for you." For a long time they sat together in quiet, letting the emotions wash over them. No words were needed. Sometimes the presence of someone who loves you is the only balm that matters. Bruce finally looked at her, a flicker of the old spark returning. "Thank you, Demi, for not walking away." She squeezed his hand tighter. "I couldn't walk away from you even if I tried." In that moment, they both understood something profound. While love can change form, shifting from romance to friendship, from passion to companionship, it never truly disappears. It simply evolves. The days that followed became a whirlwind of emotions, but Demi didn't hesitate for even a moment. As soon as she left Bruce's house, she called their daughters. One by one, she explained the diagnosis, through tears, through pauses heavy with disbelief, and reassured them that they would face this together. Rumer was the first to speak after a long, stunned silence. "Okay, then we fight this with him. Then we fight. Whatever it looks like." Scout, ever the pragmatic one, immediately started researching everything about frontotemporal dementia. "I want to understand what's coming, Mom. I want Dad to feel like he's still Dad." Tallulah, the youngest, was quieter, but her voice trembled with fierce determination. "We take care of him. He's taken care of us our whole lives." Demi felt a surge of pride. These were their daughters, brave, compassionate, resilient. Proof that the love Bruce and Demi had built transcended every boundary, every change life could throw at them. She wasted no time. Within days, she helped coordinate Bruce's medical care, brought in specialists and ensured his home was safe, comfortable, and filled with familiarity. But it wasn't just about logistics. It was about presence, about love. Demi visited daily, sometimes with the girls, sometimes alone. They spent hours flipping through old photo albums, laughing at memories that Bruce could still access, at least for now. Pictures of birthday parties, goofy Halloween costumes, impromptu family vacations, moments frozen in time before life became complicated. When words escaped him, Bruce's eyes did the talking. A glance, a smile, a squeeze of her hand. It was all there, the same unspoken understanding they'd always shared. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Demi brought over a box of old home videos. They sat together, watching footage of their daughters as toddlers, Bruce chasing them around the backyard, Demi laughing in the background. Bruce's face lit up. Even as sentences failed him, joy did not. He pointed at the screen, chuckling softly, whispering Rumer's name, then Scout's. When Tallulah appeared, his smile stretched wide, and a tear slipped down his cheek. Demi leaned her head against his shoulder. "We made something beautiful, didn't we?" she whispered. Bruce nodded slowly. Beautiful. So beautiful. The disease continued its cruel work. Some days were better, some were heavy. Bruce would sometimes struggle to remember the sequence of simple tasks, or forget a name, or pause mid-sentence searching for the right word. But the family adjusted. They learned patience, they learned to communicate beyond language. Demi became his fiercest advocate, not just privately, but publicly. Without exploiting his condition, she gently began raising awareness about frontotemporal dementia, using her platform to educate, to inspire, and to remind the world of the dignity that must be preserved for those battling invisible illnesses. The public soon noticed the quiet strength of this unusual family unit. Paparazzi photos showed Demi walking hand in hand with Bruce on quiet strolls. The media, often quick to feast on scandal, was instead silenced by something far more powerful, an enduring, unbreakable love story. Their bond evolved into something beyond romance, beyond friendship. It was a sacred partnership born from years of shared life, pain, triumph, and resilience. No label could fully capture what they were to each other now. On one quiet afternoon, as Bruce struggled to form a sentence, Demi gently placed her hand over his. "It's okay," she said softly. "I understand you. I always will." He looked into her eyes, his own glistening, and managed one word: family. And that was all that needed to be said. Life settled into a new rhythm, different, quieter, but filled with intentionality. Every moment mattered now. Each glance, each touch, each shared memory became sacred. The disease continued its slow, relentless progression, but the family adapted. They learned to communicate not through elaborate conversations, but through presence. Through quiet afternoons sitting on the porch, watching the breeze sway the trees. Through Bruce's gentle smiles when one of his daughters sang to him. Through Demi's unwavering hand, always there, always steady. There was a profound beauty in the simplicity of it all. They no longer filled time with meaningless chatter. Instead, they filled it with connection, deep, wordless understanding that transcended what illness tried to take away. For Bruce, the world had grown smaller but no less meaningful. His home became his sanctuary. The faces he recognized, Demi, Rumer, Scout, Tallulah, became his anchors in the shifting sands of memory. One evening, the entire family gathered in Bruce's backyard. Fairy lights twinkled overhead as the sun dipped below the horizon. They shared stories, laughter, and music. Tallulah played guitar while Scout harmonized, and Rumer read passages from old family journals, moments that once seemed small, but now felt monumental. Bruce sat quietly, his eyes moving from face to face, drinking in every detail. His words were fewer now, but when Rumer leaned over and asked, "Dad, are you happy?" he smiled, squeezed her hand, and whispered, "Yes." "Very." Demi watched him, her heart aching and full all at once. There was grief, yes, but also gratitude. Gratitude for the years they had shared, for the love that never faded, for the ability to be present now when it mattered most. She reflected often on their journey, how strange and beautiful life could be. They had started as strangers, fallen madly in love, built a life, raised a family, and then parted ways but never truly separated. Their love had transformed over the decades, evolving into a bond that neither time nor illness could sever. In private moments, Demi would whisper to Bruce, "You're still you, you always will be." No disease can change that. Their daughters grew stronger through the experience. They spoke publicly about the importance of compassion, of showing up for those we love, not just in the bright, easy days, but in the hard, shadowed ones too. Demi also became a quiet but powerful advocate for dementia awareness, choosing to share their journey not for sympathy, but to help others understand the reality and dignity of those affected. As the months went on, Bruce's world became quieter, but the love that surrounded him grew louder, stronger, more present than ever. And so, their story didn't end. It simply transformed into a living testament that love, true love, isn't bound by marriage certificates or perfect health. It's shown in the simple act of being there, in holding someone's hand when they can't find the words, in reminding them, even when memories fade, that they are seen, known, and loved. On a peaceful morning, as sunlight streamed through the window, Demi sat beside Bruce. She squeezed his hand, smiled, and said, "We've had quite a journey, haven't we?" Bruce turned his head, eyes soft, and whispered, "Forever." Demi smiled through the tears. Forever. And in that quiet space, surrounded by the echoes of laughter, memories, and unwavering love, their story continued, an eternal bond untouched by time, unbroken by circumstance. If this story touched your heart, make sure to subscribe and don't forget to check out the next video on your screen for more inspiring and emotional stories from the world of celebrities and beyond.